to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight. And by the way, our maiden voyage in our brand new podcast studio / Jeremy Schran's office. We want to thank you for joining us. I'm Catherine Nero, and Jeremy's working the controls today. He's the brains behind the operation. And in his place, we have Gina Bath, the Vice President of the Women's Initiative here at the Northern Kentucky Chamber, to tell us all kinds of great stuff today. We've got a very female-strong podcast today, don't we?
We do.
Tell us about some of the guests coming up.
So we have Barb Moran Johnson from Wells Fargo Advisors. She is our annual breakfast committee chair. And then we also have our Debbie Simpson Spirit of Achievement honoree, Miss Allison Cook from States and Harbison.
And then after that, we'll be talking about the Women's Initiative Peer-to-Peer Roundtable Program with Kay Fittis from High Heeled Success, who's the committee chair there, and then Claire Parsons from Adams, Stettner, Walterman, and Dusing, a committee member as well. So we're talking about a lot about the Women's Initiative, female forward, we're calling this, and there's a lot to talk about because the breakfast is coming up in just a couple of weeks. We'll get to all that great stuff coming your way. But first, we want to thank our sponsors. Our title sponsor is CVG, of course, and our studio sponsor, again, brand new podcast studio. So thank you to L&N Federal Credit Union. And let's hear a word from them.
Sometimes life is hectic. Choosing a mortgage lender shouldn't be. The L&N 5-5 Mortgage offers competitive rates, no PMI, and up to 100% financing. That's a mortgage that comes with peace of mind. Whether you're purchasing a new home or refinancing, you'll feel right at home with L&N. We're local, trusted, and we'll be here for you even after your closing. Call 800-292-2905 and get started on your 5-5 mortgage. L&N Federal Credit Union. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Northern Kentucky Spotlight. And as promised, we're going to talk about the Women's Initiative Annual Breakfast, which is coming up on January 14th. And today we have two very important folks involved in that breakfast. Actually, three if we want to count Gina as well. But our guest today, Allison Cook from Stites and Harbison, who is the Debbie Simpson Spirit of Achievement honoree, and Barb Johnson from Wells Fargo Advisors, the Women's Initiative Annual Breakfast Committee chair. So Barb, let's start with you. Why is it so important, not just for women, but for women and men to attend the breakfast?
Well, the breakfast is the second biggest chamber event for the year. So we have over 800 women and men that attend the breakfast, which is phenomenal in and of itself. And of course, with that many people, it creates a terrific networking environment. So the networking there is really very robust, shall I say, and lots of coffee to be served, and there's a lot of connections and introductions that are made during the breakfast. Then we also have a fantastic speaker this year, Christy Nelson, who is a local speaker. She's not a speaker, she's actually an attorney, and she's got a fantastic story to tell. Very inspiring, a journey that she's been on for several years. Recently telling her story about a battle with cancer, but also just her success as a professional woman in Northern Kentucky. And the programming, of course, is going to have an added event afterwards where we're doing a Meet the Speaker. So after the formal breakfast, we're going to also have a Meet the Speaker opportunity for people to stay afterwards and ask more one-on-one questions of Christy and have a little more intimate conversations.
And by the way, if you want to hear a little sneak peek of what Christy talked about, she was a guest on this very podcast just 2 weeks ago. So check that out. It's a really, like you said, really interesting story. It'll be fun to hear her speak and really emotional to hear that.
It is. And at this event, we give out the Debbie Simpson Spirit of Achievement Award. Can you tell us a little bit of the history and the significance of this award?
Well, Debbie Simpson was one of the women that helped to start the Women's Initiative 11 years ago, and so we have named an award after her to recognize an individual that has made a significant contribution to the Women's Initiative programming and has really gone above and beyond their contributions for the Women's Initiative as well as in the community in general. So Allison Cook, who has been involved with the Women's Initiative from the beginning, is our award recipient this year, and she certainly fits the bill in that category.
Well, let's hear about it. Allison, this is going to be exciting for you to be the honoree this year.
Oh, goodness, very exciting, very exciting. I've been involved, as Barb says, for the past 11 years with this Women's Initiative and the breakfast in particular. So to see it grow and to see all the women there is unbelievable. I've been just so impressed with all the women that I've served with on the committees with the Women's Initiative, and all the women I've met at all the many events. It's an honor to have the award, and in honor of Debbie Simpson, thank you for coming up with the Women's Initiative. What a great idea.
So can you tell us, how has the Women's Initiative helped your career over the years?
Well, it's certainly helped my career, gosh, in 11 years. Like I said, the women that I have met with and over the years at all the events and that I've served with on committees, it's amazing to realize what you learn from each and every one of those women who are even starting out their careers, or they've been in their same career, same position for many years. It's just a huge benefit to be around those women on a consistent, regular basis. So we are very fortunate that we have the Women's Initiative and the Chamber here. And aside from the professional benefits, believe it or not, a lot of the women that I've met and have been involved with over the years, they have become friends. So you not only benefit professionally, you benefit personally. So, I have a 26-year-old daughter, and she doesn't live here. I want her to have the Chamber experience that I had. So it's a great program, a great initiative, and I'm excited for our next breakfast.
I'm curious, after 11 years and the length of time that you guys have been involved in this, how has the Women's Initiative changed? How has, what are women wanting in the workplace? Because I feel like the workplace, the landscape of business has changed a bit. How have you noticed that those kinds of questions and experiences coming up with the Women's Initiative?
I think the things that have changed is we've gotten a little more dynamic in what we offer. As far as the programming, it's expanded, because when we started out it was more networking and providing some professional education, but that's gotten more robust, and we've added different programming and examined that, and we play a larger part in conversations for the Chamber in general, so just more significant of a role for the Chamber.
And I agree with what Barb says. The point that's important for me is all of the women, as we progress over the years, we bring new women in. All of the ideas of that collective group, I think, carry us forward, and we are in a very progressive mode with this Women's Initiative. So I love that, because I want to hear what is new out there in the workforce, and instead of what I'm used to on a day-to-day basis. So again, it's a win-win.
And let's talk numbers. We got to talk butts and seats, Gina. How many tickets are remaining? Do we know numbers?
We are getting close to the 800 mark, so
Okay.
I would say definitely register soon.
Yeah.
Last year we did sell out, and when we sell out, we unfortunately have no more seats. So
And like you said, the second biggest event of the year for this chamber. That's amazing. So we look forward to it.
And kudos to Gina and Beth and the Chamber staff for the support and everything, because we couldn't they make all of us volunteers look great, but they really help to move the whole programming forward and make the event such a success, every event.
Well, you can get those tickets on the chamber website, correct?
we can at nkychamber.com/annual breakfast. And one other piece I want to mention is another piece of the event is we have our nonprofit recipient. So this year we're highlighting the Welcome House. So if you are attending, please look at the website to see what their list is for items to be donated.
And before we let you go, each week we ask a monthly question. So each month there's a different question, and it's January. We're all thinking of like renewing, recharging, those sorts of things. Let's be fair. And so with the beginning of the new year, the Chamber is focused on health and wellness, like so many of us, for the month of January. So I want to ask each of you, and Barb, we'll start with you. What's one thing you do to focus on health or wellness?
I take some time first thing every morning before the craziness sets in on the day, and it's something that I actually learned at the Women's Summit from someone who will be speaking later on about mindfulness, and just take 5 or 10 minutes to just sit and be quiet and gather my thoughts and just be mindful about my intentions for the day.
It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
It does,
That's those
indeed.
intentions. What about you, Allison?
And for me, I kind of do what Barb says. I'm probably not as religious about doing it every day, but also an hour 3 times a week on the Pilates Reformer. Wonderful.
That'll do it. Well, ladies, thank you so much. We appreciate it and look forward to the breakfast, and congratulations to you, Allison, as well. Hey, stick with us. We're going to be right back after this commercial break. CVG Airport is the lowest fare airport in the tri-state region with 54 nonstop flights and direct international service to 7 destinations, including Paris, France, and now home to both DHL's and Amazon's global cargo hubs. The airport is furthering its position as leader in aviation and is deeply committed to being an economic driver for the community. You can learn more and start your next adventure at cvgairport.com. Welcome back to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight, and sitting in now, like I said, it is a female-focused Northern Kentucky Spotlight. Dawn Denham from Leadership Northern Kentucky is here to talk about the headlines of the day. Welcome.
Hi, welcome. Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to
How
you.
about this new studio?
I love it.
Isn't it great?
And I like that you dressed to match it.
I'm
This is
matching the studio
perfect.
today. I did that on purpose.
All right, so this is a great new podcast studio, and we have some great headlines to share with you as well. I loved this one so much. I'm a big fan of Ludlow. I'm down there a great bit, and the former Doxall Propane building, and I'm like, what's that? You know it. It's 2 Highway Avenue. You've driven by it if you've been on Elm Street, and
It's giant and blue.
you can't miss it.
You can't miss it.
And so it's going to become an event center. This is going to be awesome. So Paul Miller, who of course is from Circus Mojo, Birkus Brewing, he bought the site. They're going to do, again, part of this big resurgence of Ludlow. He's been a big part of it. They have Ludlow's Opportunity Zone. This is within the Opportunity Zone, which allows for some tax breaks and potential capital gains exclusions as well. But the bottom line is an event center is coming to Northern Kentucky. That'll be great to see.
That's great, and we need more spaces for
Yes.
events, for sure. As the Chamber plans so many, we're constantly looking for new venues, so we're all really excited about that announcement this past week. So also continuing on the urban core and revitalization, which we love to talk about on the podcast, there are 4 Covington buildings that are actually receiving some funds, both to help with rent and then some facade upgrades. We're in the Wallace Woods, I think, is the
There's
location of
Wallace
one.
Woods and
Dixie
Main Street,
Chili.
Dixie Chili.
Dixie Chili on
That's the one
Madison.
on Madison, yeah. And so there'll be all kinds. The Central Business District in Lewisburg also. So there'll be you'll be seeing or feeling maybe the benefits of that across the board. And then NKU, this is not great news for about 68 students there. Their residence halls are closing like immediately, like not opening for the spring. So these are part of the Woodcrest apartment complex. This is not like NKU dorms proper, but they're residence facilities that
Primarily
they're
used for that, right.
So they've deteriorated. They're going to close immediately. A third one's going to close in June. So those 68 students are trying to figure it out right now. So they'll find some place for them, but it's dicey in the meantime. They got another week or so to figure that out.
NKU is just asking everybody to stay calm and patient while we figure their way through this. So.
And Erlanger has a new police chief.
Right, but he's not new to Erlanger.
Not at all.
No, he grew up in Erlanger. So Kyle Rader he was the assistant, and then just this past week was named the chief of police in Erlanger. So that's exciting for your hometown.
There you go.
Yeah.
Born and bred. And tank routes. If you take the tank bus, or if you are considering it, this might be for you, because they're discussing tank is, they've taken 9 months to really take a step back and figure out, okay, how do we improve ridership? How do we make this more efficient? How do we make it more sustainable? They're going to figure that out with your help. January 7th, there's going to be a meeting to discuss potential new routes, changing of old ones, so you might just want to put that on the calendar.
And you maybe saw in the news, they've had several town halls where they were seeking input from community leaders and riders at large, actually, just to find out how to improve the system. So they're going to kind of unveil the plan and allow for a Q&A on January 7th next week.
And even though Jeremy's behind the scenes over here, we cannot get away from Jeremy's Chamber Roundup.
Giddy up.
All right. So
Yep.
Are we seeing you now, Jeremy?
Yeah. Oh, I'm on the
Yes.
I'm on the screen for those of you watching on Facebook. So around the chamber right now, the nominations are open for the Outstanding Women of Northern Kentucky. They're presented by the Chamber's Women's Initiative. There's several categories, so check out the Chamber's website, nkychamber.com, and you can find out the full details of the Outstanding Women program and all the great stuff that goes along with that. And we have some events coming up. On the 10th, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at the Carnegie. The dress rehearsal is going to be the Regional Youth Leadership fundraiser this year. So get there, it's going to be exciting. And Dawn, what are you doing for the leadership class?
Oh, yes. So anybody who pays their alumni dues for LNK before the play, we're doing a reception the hour before. The first drink will be on us. You can be there and celebrate that fundraiser with the new class, the current class of 2020. and just mix and mingle with other alumni. Also, it is a family-friendly event, and the play is very family-friendly. So please get online on our events page and buy your tickets now.
Yes, and as we said before, the Women's Initiative annual breakfast is coming up on the 14th. Get there, be there. There's going to be lots of people there. It's going to be great. Then we have an HR 100. Does your organization have a hiring bias? And that's on the 16th. We also have another event on the 16th, which is the NKYP, so the YP group. They're having the Next Generation Leadership Speaker Series. So some of the people that won the Next Generation Leadership Awards this year are going to be speaking. And that panel is going to be Molly Behrens, Mike Grout, and Tara Johnson-Noem. That should be pretty interesting. You don't want to miss that. And that is it for a chamber events.
The Chamber Roundup has complete. We're going to need to get him cowboy boots for next time.
I think so, and a
I think
hat.
there needs to be a full-on costume change. We're going to make that happen. Thank you for joining us
Thanks for having me.
the fun of the Business Weekend Review. But our fun continues. Stay with us after this. We're going to be talking about the Peer-to-Peer Roundtable program.
Did you know the Northern Kentucky Chamber can help celebrate your business's grand opening, reopening, or new location with a ribbon cutting? To take advantage of this member benefit, contact the Chamber at 859-578-8800 and ask for Lynn Ablin.
Welcome back to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight. We continue our focus on, this is kind of intentional but kind of unintentional, our female-focused podcast this week. And this time we're talking about the Women's Initiative's Peer-to-Peer Roundtable program. Our guest today, Kay Fittis from High Heeled Success. She's the committee chair. Nice to see you too, Kay. And Claire Parsons from Adam Stettner Walterman and Dusing, a member of the committee as well. Thank you guys for joining us. All right, Kay, we're going to start with you. What is the Peer-to-Peer Roundtable program?
I like to call it the place where women empower other women. You know, there is a myth out there that women really don't support each other, and we've obliterated that myth with the peer-to-peer roundtables. It is specifically 8 to 10 of your peers in the working world where you go to troubleshoot career issues, where you get resources, where you get an opportunity to really focus on your career in a very, I would call it strategic way instead of a default. And there's some good news about it because any woman that is part of the Northern Kentucky Chamber, she's one of our peeps. We can definitely get her involved.
That's awesome.
So on that note, how does a female chamber member, how does she
How's it
go
happen?
about? Yes.
Yeah, it's easy, easy, easy. Go to the website, click on programs, then go to the Women's Initiative, and under Achieve you will see peer-to-peer roundtables, and there is an application right there online, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your office chair.
There you go. So, Claire, why is it important to join a roundtable? What can you gain from it?
I have a couple answers for you. I have a personal one and then I have a policy-based one. I'm a lawyer,
Perfect.
so-
Perfect. You're going to speak to whoever's listening, right?
Best of all worlds.
That's right.
Yeah, the personal one is I agree with Kay that the idea that women don't support other women, I think that is a myth. Obviously, workplaces, sometimes there are conflicts between people based on personality. That does happen, but my experience has been, I've been involved with numerous women's organizations throughout my career, and including a roundtable with the Chamber. And I don't think I would have made it as far as I have in my career without the support of other women. I think just from an emotional level, you need that support because building a career is hard and it's constantly changing in this economy. But I think also you need it from a practical advice standpoint. So I would recommend, I generally think something like a roundtable is not just an investment in your business, it's an investment in you personally to help you grow and to achieve as a professional. And so that's why I would recommend it from a personal standpoint. From a policy standpoint, I think when you look at many of the studies relating to women in work, you see that often the concerns that women have are that they don't get appropriate access to mentors and sponsors.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need those within your workplace to really succeed, but you also can benefit from that support and mentorship from peers and from people from other industries, because that perspective can be really valuable.
Yeah, and you were recently a speaker at one of our joint roundtable sessions. Your topic was mindfulness tools for the 21st century professional women. Can you tell us a little more about some of these tools?
Yes, and just so that listeners are not entirely confused, I'm not a meditation teacher or a psychologist or anything like that. I am not even a yoga instructor. I am just a lawyer.
Just a lawyer. That's pretty impressive. Let's start there.
So, and I found mindfulness sort of just in my own time. I read a book about Buddhism. I thought it sounded really practical and logical, and then it took me 2 years to sit down and finally meditate. When I did about 6 or 7 years ago, it drastically changed my life in very small ways, and then it built on that and sort of helped me get out of my head and out of my shell and start doing things that actually would build my career. And so that's why I've developed this presentation where I explained different meditation strategies that people could use to help with things like stress or just emotional pain that happens as a professional. And these are things that, not that I have developed, but just different tools. And one of the things I wanted people to understand is that there's a lot of different ways you can meditate. So you can try one that might work at one time in your life, and then you might try another one. But don't just try one and give up and think, I can't do it. You might want to experiment a little bit. But there's a lot of tools out there for people to use, like apps and podcasts and books, that they can get started on their own and do pretty great.
I want to get back to, because both of you have mentioned it, and we've all heard it, about how, women don't support other women. In fact, they may detract from other women in the workplace. But you're right. So often, that may come from the fact that in many cases, we may be alone in that, and so a peer-to-peer roundtable like this allows an organization or a company or a person who may not have a lot of women surrounding them to ask these questions. It gives them an opportunity to maybe, like you said, Claire, get out of your own industry. And sometimes it's that perspective that's really the most important.
Well, I think that's one of the real keys, because at every roundtable we make a concerted effort to have a plethora of industries represented, and not anyone from your company. So there's an opportunity to have confidentiality, not to really have that sense of, oh, do I have to really be careful about what I'm saying here, because confidentiality is key. But the other key component of that is when people realize the issues are not unique to them, that these same challenges are presented across many industries, if not most, then you begin to look at resources instead of what's wrong with me.
And strategies maybe that we use elsewhere. Yeah.
And that's one of the real values of the roundtable as well. We have a myriad of resources that we offer to our participants, both individually as well as what they can do as a group in the roundtable. So you walk away with skills and resources that you can plug into your career immediately.
And right there for the taking, right there on the website,
That's right. Easy.
I think we might know the answer, Claire's answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, the monthly question, which is, of course, with the beginning of the new year, the Chamber's focused on health and wellness. What is something you do to help health or wellness on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
I might actually throw a curveball. So this is sort of, it's meditation, and my answer is sort of related to that, but it's not exactly. So the thing that I will actually suggest to people is to maybe explore self-compassion a little bit more, because I would say, I meditate as much as I can to help maintain my own mental health. But I also have recently picked up a fitness habit, and I actually was telling Kay before we walked in that I might be running a 5K in 2020, and I've never liked running. But part of the process of learning to like running is to not be hard on myself when I started working out and I wasn't in as good a shape as I wanted to be, or I wasn't able to run, or I got winded at a certain point. You don't give up if you're kind to yourself and you recognize that what you're doing is hard. If you are going to set high goals, you're not going to get them all. If you're going to take big risks, you're going to fail sometimes. If you have self-compassion for yourself, you'll probably set bigger goals, first of all, because you won't be so afraid, but you'll have that cushion to fall back on. And I would really recommend looking into the work of Kristen Neff. She's a researcher down in Texas, a PhD who has researched self-compassion for more than a decade. She's got a website, selfcompassion.org, and people can find free resources on that. So I would say self-compassion is probably the best thing you could do for yourself in terms of actually doing those New Year's resolutions throughout the year.
How interesting. Thank you. What about you, Kay?
Well, we did not plan this, but this is rather amazing because we're truly in lockstep. What I do, what I recommend to my clients, because women have been taught so much that there are so many self-expectations, so many societal expectations that we fall into a lot of cognitive distortions. The way we look at the world can be very skewed. We talk to ourselves in ways that we would never allow another human being to talk to us. And, for me, on a daily basis, I must be very watchful of those distortions. There are many, dozens, but the one that just reaches up and grabs me by the throat is catastrophizing. I can take a very tiny little issue at the beginning of the morning, and by the end of the afternoon, it has blown up into a colossal problem. So things like catastrophizing, black and white thinking, overgeneralizing. Your boss says something to you that's just an offhand comment, and you jump to conclusions that she has a very poor opinion of you. And by late afternoon, not only are you sure that your head's on the chopping block, you're going to be fired, you're going to be out there a bag lady on the street with your cat. So to be very watchful of those. And as Claire said, resources are very valuable. There are a couple of books that I would recommend around cognitive distortions. Dr. David Burns' book on 10 Days to Self-Esteem, and the book by Fanning and McKay on cognitive distortions. Really great resources. So if you find you don't talk to yourself very effectively, those are great ones to go for.
What great answers, and what great advertisement for the peer-to-peer roundtable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like these two, now I'm feeling good about myself,
That's
right?
right. You should do a
All right.
roundtable.
No, I should, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Gina, thank you as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great, and good luck with the breakfast coming up
Thank you.
on the
It'll be
14th.
great.
Yeah, so, and we want to thank Allison and Barb, Kay and Claire, and of course Jeremy, running the show back there, showing his face, being all happy. We'll have Ben back next week, so the melodious tones of Jeremy will be back over here as well. But thank you to everybody on this holiday week getting together and coming out for this. And so, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us yet again for the inaugural voyage of the new Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast Studio. And we want to thank not only the L&N Federal Credit Union, the studio sponsor, but of course our title sponsor, CVG, as well. Thanks again. Hit share, hit subscribe, and we'll see you right back here next week.